Hello everyone, and this is my review for WWE Monday Night Raw on October the 3rd, 2016, and what can we say about this show? There's definitely some hiccups about this show, but there's a really strong finish to this show. They started off the show rather strong to go along with it as well. They started off with Roman Reigns coming out. It looked like he was just going to cut a normal promo and everything. He gets interrupted by Lana saying, Rusev wants to challenge you for the United States title. Roman Reigns cuts a couple bad jokes. Rusev comes out and they start brawling. It looks like Rusev gets the full-on upper hand by knocking Roman off over the barricade and everything. He's standing up on the rampway, all triumphant, holding the title. He gets Superman punched from behind. Basically making the first match for Hell in a Cell, which is going to be a Hell in a Cell match with Roman Reigns and Rusev. And I do like the line that he goes along with, is like, I'm going to hell, well, I'm taking you both with me, in that sense, and says he's going to fight him in Hell in a Cell afterwards. So, not a bad opening segment there. The brawl kind of helps it because it wasn't just talk the entire time for it. So it kind of helped in that sense. It was the only time that you really saw them throughout the entire night to go along with it. Up next, you had T.J. Perkins going up against Brian Kendrick, and I found this one weird because I felt like last week they specifically said that this was going to be for the Cruiserweight title, and it ends up not being. Kendrick wins, and it basically sets it up for him getting another title shot in there. So, I'm initially thinking it's like, oh, this is for the title, this is for the title. They don't even really recognize that, but I thought that was what they announced the week before, but they decided to go against that. And T.J. Perkins tapped out to Brian Kendrick's new move called the Captain's Hook. In that, it's kind of like a crossface style move. Again, I thought the match was good, but it was just really weird because you had the initial impression that it was supposed to be for the title, but it ends up not being for the title in that sense of everything. You also had Seth Rollins having a sit-down interview with Michael Cole, and basically doing your typical fare, going verbally attacking Kevin Owens, saying that he's teacher's pet and everything like that. He wants his rematch with Kevin Owens for the Universal title and everything on that aspect. Typical promo, kind of babyface style promo stuff. You do even have an interaction with Rollins and Stephanie McMahon a little bit later in there, and I'll talk about that in a few moments to go along with it, because there was another match to go along with that that I want to talk about beforehand. But first of all, you had Braun Strowman going up against Local Dude again. And basic typical interview beforehand from Byron Saxton, but this time he interviews Strowman afterwards, after the quick squash match. And what he basically is like, he says, I want competition, and tell Foley if you don't bring it to me next week that something else is going to happen in that variation. So you're getting a little bit more from Braun Strowman. Like, he even says throughout the entire match, like, that's all you've got, that's all you can give me in everything in that sense. So, like, where are they going to go with this next week? You're finally getting something a little bit more out of the Braun Strowman stuff to go along with it. So it should be interesting to see where they go with everything. You had a promo with Sasha Banks and Bayley, basically talking about the night and the main event for later on in the night, which was going to be Sasha versus Charlotte, and they were going to be the main event of the show. Basic standard fare promo, especially babyface, and they're nothing spectacular promo wise. Like I said, they kind of rebooted the Bayley character to where she's back to being like happy to be there and everything, like talking about making history and everything in that sense. And maybe they're going to bring it a little bit, kind of rebuild it back to where it was in that sense. of everything. And of course, Sasha's like, she's focused on not just making history, but winning the title, everything in that sense. So standard fare promo from them. After that promo, you had Jericho with, you had Kevin Owens and Jericho's promo. It started off as an aspect of putting down Seth Rollins and everything in there, and not a whole lot of Jericho and everybody was being very entertaining. I'm liking this whole list of Jericho thing to go along with it, especially afterwards, where it's like Jericho was talking about, it's like, hey, we should go after the New Day and everything, and then challenge them into a match and try to get a tag title match. And they put the seeds in there of going that you're going to be seeing Jericho going up against Owens at some point here in the very near future by saying it's like, by Jericho saying it's like, it's not like I'm challenging you for your title. And it's like, we want to go for the tag titles, and that when Kevin Owens was like, it's a lot more work and everything, like, and then he was like, oh yeah, I'm totally for it and everything, because he doesn't want to go up against Chris Jericho for his title or something in a sense. So they're putting the seeds down in there, and finally the seeds of the actual Jericho and Kevin Owens feud. New Day does come out. They obviously set up the match for later in the night. Not a bad promo from New Day in this case as well. Both teams kind of played off of each other inside of there. You had another backstage segment with Owens and Jericho with Ashton Kutcher, and I wasn't a big that 70s guy show, so I don't remember the name of the other guy at all off the top of my head. And then, of course, like I said, I've always been horrible with names to begin with, so it always takes me time. But they kind of had their own banter back and forth, and basically saying that they were going to be out there for commentary throughout the entire time. They don't get involved in that particular match, and I'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit more now. But they don't get involved particularly inside of that match with New Day and Kevin Owens. But Seth Rollins does. He comes out there. He initially just stays up at the rampway throughout the entire time, and as soon as it looks like Chris Jericho's about to win, he comes charging down, causes the distraction, which allows for New Day to pick up the victory in that case of everything. And and then afterwards, he kind of keeps Kevin Owens from getting in the ring and everything like that. And of course, he had chased him up the rampway, gets back in the ring and pedigrees Chris Jericho, and they're playing off the whole aspect that, Jericho and Kevin Owens aren't really friends. They're just kind of like someone's using someone else to get wherever they want to go in that case. So they're building up a little bit more of that tension to go along with it. And this is where I wanted to play off the other aspect. You had Stephanie McMahon backstage confront Seth Rollins, saying, it's like, you're not medically clear to be there. What are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? And it's like, and Seth Rollins playing off the aspect that it's like, no, you can't stop me from doing whatever I want. You can't stop me from doing whatever anymore. Playing off of that entire thing, and that he was going to prove that what he did was the second worst mistake that Triple H had ever done. Basically, continuing on with that storyline a little bit more. And it was like, what was the first? Well, it was marrying Stephanie in that case. So, not a bad promo from them. I thought it came off a little bit well on both sides there. It's one of those aspects that not too many people get one over promo-wise on Stephanie, and Seth kind of does in this case. To go along with it. The match with New Day and Jericho, I thought was pretty good to go along with it in there. And it kind of played off the storylines that they needed to play off throughout the entire time. You didn't see too much in terms of the authority figures throughout the night either. That was like the only time you saw Stephanie. You always saw Mick Foley like once, maybe twice. You definitely saw him with Cesaro and Sheamus, which they had a great little segment before him, because now they have, since they're a tag team, they're showing up at the arena together, so they're getting out arguing right off the bat. And of course, they're doing the exact same thing when Foley cuts another promo to try to get them to be together and everything in that sense. Sheamus and Cesaro later that night had a match with a couple local guys, and they're playing the odd couple stuff. But they're playing it in a completely different way. They're not necessarily doing it comedy-based wise. They're just making it look very, very... They're not working well as a team style of an Odd Couple area. So it's not... They're playing a buddy type thing where they are just doing comical style stuff. It's kind of like, it's not they're not gelling together, they're not working together style of everything. So it's a little bit different than what you typically see with WWE's Odd Couple tag teams, where they usually do some kind of comedy bit, like the Golden Truth, who had a tag match tonight with Gallows and Anderson. Gallows and Anderson won this one, and of course they continue to beat them down afterwards, so they're kind of bringing them into their more serious roles. Hopefully they can get these guys over, because they're honestly really good. But we'll see where everything goes that side. You also had Sami Zayn going up against Titus O'Neil. Sami Zayn won that match rather quickly. They were playing this whole aspect of Titus trying to open up the Titus brand and everything like that, but Sami Zayn wins the match. Sami Zayn, why aren't you doing anything? Really? Like, why aren't they doing anything with you? You're great in the ring. You play such a good character. You had such a really good match earlier this year with Kevin Owens. Not just earlier this year, just a couple months ago. And now they're not really doing much with him at all in any way. So it's kind of sad in that sense of everything. But yeah, at least he was on the show this week. He wasn't on the show last week. So that's improvement. We want to see a storyline for Sami Zayn somewhere down the road here. It almost feels like he had spent so much time with this whole Kevin Owens thing that he doesn't have anywhere else to go afterwards. And we'll, like I said, hopefully they do more stuff with him and Jericho here in the very near future, and we'll see how everything goes. You had another Cruiserweight match as well before I get into the main event stuff. Rich Swann versus Tony Nese. Good match. Good match from both of them. I found this match thoroughly entertaining. I just like the different feel for the Cruiserweight stuff that they're doing. It's kind of like the whole aspect of the Grand Championship over in TNA. Like, the Cruiserweight division just has a different feel, a different vibe. It feels like, they're going out there about competition and everything like that. Like, the referee has to checking the ring gear for weapons and everything like that. You have a different vibe, different feel, different color ropes and everything like that. I'm just enjoying it. And the match itself, like I said, was rather good. I like Rich Swann. He's not like it's not like he's out there with typical fares, like I just walked to the ring. No, he's dancing, he's having fun, he's trying to fully entertain the crowd. Both these guys really worked well together, doing counters and everything in that sense. So that match came off very well as well. And you got 2 Cruiserweight matches this week. You had 2 of them, so not bad. You did have a couple promos with Charlotte. One talking with Todd Phillips and everything in that sense, more about the main event and how she was going to show why she's genetically superior and everything in that sense. And then right beforehand, you have her and Dana walking to the ring, and they run into Bayley. And of course, Charlotte's putting down Bayley in every way, shape, or form, calling her like the Sesame Street character and everything in that sense. And basically he's like putting her down because guess what? She's main eventing, Bayley's not, and everything and to go along with it. And this is where you get a little bit of a different side for the Bayley character. It's like, okay, Dana's sticking around, and she puts Bayley up against the wall. And it's like she was gonna throw her into the wall on the other side, and Bayley reverses it, and guess what? They wrote off Dana Brooke. They wrote off Dana Brooke right there. Good way of doing it too. It doesn't really compromise the face character of Bayley in that sense, because she was kind of attacked first to go along with it, and it writes Dana Brooke out of the main event. So now all of a sudden it's a one-on-one match with Sasha Banks and Charlotte. What can you say about that main event? Outside of, I think, maybe one spot where it looked like they were going for something completely different, and it didn't necessarily fully pan out. this was a great main event. They put everything into this match, even down to the story that they were telling is like, you know, Charlotte trying to do everything in her power to put Sasha Banks away, but can't do it. Focusing on the back, even going as far as like you saw the moonsault from the last time. It's like, you know what, Charlotte's gonna one up and just do a corkscrew moonsault to the outside. Yeah, that was like the oh my god moment of the match to go along with it. And the match itself, I thought, well told story throughout the entire thing, and just an overall great match. Like I said, I think there was maybe one blown spot throughout the entire thing, and you can't knock a match for just one in that sense. So overall, really good main event from Sasha and Charlotte. Sasha goes over here. You kind of want to go with an aspect that maybe they should have waited for the Boston area for it, but with the aspect of them putting them in the main event of the show and everything on that sense, it works out great. And the crowd popped huge for the title change with Sasha winning to go along with it. They were invested into the main event. It came off great, and what can you say? They did a great job. That wasn't just like that was a great women's match. That was just a great match. That was just really, really good. And they, like I said, they pulled out every stop possible to make it feel like a main event, which you don't always get on Raw. We'll put it in that sense of everything. You don't always get that on Raw. Like main events, sometimes it can go 5 minutes and it's done. In every facet there. Like last week's main event just kind of felt like it was there. Okay, and it's like, no, this one felt like a main event. They put everything out there and made it feel like a main event, and it came off really good. So, ups to them on that one. I thoroughly enjoyed that match. So, with that being said, certain aspects of the show I felt like maybe a little bit off. But overall, was not a bad show this week. A really good start. And you get an announcement for one of the Hell in a Cell matches. Really, really good main event. Still wondering why they're not doing anything with Sami Zayn or a few other areas. And they're still kind of working things out with the whole Cesaro Sheamus thing and everything to go along with it. So we'll see how everything goes there. But overall, not a bad Raw this week, especially with the factor of how good that main event was. That was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Made that show a lot better than probably what it was to go along with it. So, with that being said, that is my review for Monday Night Raw this week. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.